Hello and welcome to a special Minecraft pixel art video. Today I will be going through my entire process of taking a sprite and building it in Minecraft. Let's begin. So before we do anything in Minecraft, I like to do a little bit of prep work first. For the sprite that we're going to be using, we're going to be doing Mega Man, as it's a nice, simple sprite, and I'm fairly familiar with it as I've used it in a lot of different designs and things like that, such as the thumbnail heads and the avatars on the outro. So, what I like to do first in every sprite I do, and obviously on this one it's not going to be too difficult as there are only 5 colors total on this sprite, I like to take each color and make little squares all next to each other so I can later properly pick out the blocks in Minecraft. It's easy to do this, so I have a perfect thing to compare it to. Obviously with this sprite there aren't that many colors, we only have 5 including white here, but I'm not going to do that as it's a white background. So with this, I will now head back into Minecraft and we will pick out the proper blocks. So to start off, we're going to choose our blocks. And first, we will choose the block used in the black outline. Most sprites have a black outline. Obviously not every single sprite does. Most blocks that I've done do. And for every single one of those sprites that has a big black outline, or even just black blocks in general, the absolute best block you want to use is black concrete. There's no other block in the game that can beat it. Unless the sprite is like slightly off black, this is the absolute best. Concrete, in general, is an amazing block in this game because it has just the full set of colors that all the different colors of wool have, except it's untextured. It's just a untextured block of multiple different colors. On top of that, they also have the white concrete powder. Now, the white concrete powder can be a little bit annoying to work with because of the fact that it actually has gravity. But just this update in general, whatever update it was, it added in all of these different colors. Just 2 sets of colors. It was a lot. It was a massive change to doing sprites in pixel art, and probably one of the best things that ever happened for, you know, this type of build. So, moving on, we're not actually going to use concrete for the rest of it. We need to be blue shades. For that, I think I'm actually just going to use blue wool. I had a bit of a look earlier, and I think that blue wool works the best. I chose not to use concrete, and I'll actually show you. So we got the light blue concrete and the dark blue concrete. In my opinion, this block was just slightly darker than this one, and this one just wasn't light enough. So that was really my only decision there. This is the lightest blue that you can really use, besides maybe ice, but I don't think these ices fit well with the more cyan color. And cyan is just not, it's not light enough. So I think before they updated the colors, because there was a while back that they updated the colors, I probably would have used cyan. But since they've changed the light blue look to more of like a, almost leaning into like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's not quite a baby blue anymore. It's more of sky blue, I guess. And it looks much better, so I think we're going to use that for this. Moving on, there's also the skin tone. Now for this sprite, I'm going to use the smooth sandstone block. Obviously I consider it a lot better than sand for 2 reasons. Obviously it's slightly less textured, and you don't have to deal with the whole gravity thing. So sandstone's a good block for Caucasian skin tone, but that heavily depends on the sprite. Another good block for Caucasian skin tone in this game is white terracotta. I don't know what happened with the terracotta, because a lot of these colors are just really bad. Like, white terracotta, this isn't white in the slightest, it's like a peach color almost. But I don't care, because I've used this quite a bit, and I actually very much like this block. It's really good for skin tones. But typically, terracotta you have to be sparing on. So the last block, there's not much of this block, but we're going to go with white. Now with white blocks on most sprites, I typically like to use white because it's very basic white, and yes, it is textured. And you're thinking, why won't I go with terracotta? Well, you can see the comparison. This is just a very, very bright white, and this is almost like a washed out white, you know? So typically with white, I will go with white wool over white concrete. There are a couple other blocks you can use for white blocks, and I have used them in the past. You got iron, snow, and even quartz. Where's quartz? Quartz does not start with a C, my friend. Smooth quartz. So, of course, this depends on the sprite you're doing. If you want a bit of a metallic texture, of course, you can go with iron. If you're building something that is literally meant to be made out of snow, or similar to that, a snow block is pretty good because it gives that kind of cold feel. And then if you want a bit of an off-white, you have quartz. So these three are also pretty good for white, but it depends on what sprite you're doing. For this one, obviously, we're just going to go with white. So with that, grab our colors here. We move on to the build. So, for the build, the first thing you're going to want to do is work on the outline of the sprite. Most sprites will have some sort of outline. Most of the time they'll be in black, but of course there are going to be multiple different sprites that don't have black and sometimes use dark gray, or will use some sort of color. The previous sprite that I used had an outline in multiple different colors. There was dark green, a very dark red, and of course gray. Most sprites will typically use a black, but that is heavily dependent on the game that they're from. So for the reason you want to do the outline first before anything else, is the outline is something you can screw up the most on. You screw up anywhere on the outline, and it can screw up the entire sprite. Like right here, I had made a small mistake, and luckily there wasn't too much that had to be undone. And right there was another mistake that I'll come back to in a bit, but we'll get there. Next up, you want to work on the shades. This includes whites or grays. Obviously for this sprite there isn't much in terms of shades, just the white. Following any shades, whites, grays, or anything like that, I typically like to use whatever color is most dominant in the sprite. Obviously for Mega Man it is the dark blue. And here we go, I figure out that the sprite is screwed up. Luckily that was a pretty minor screw up. So you can see, you really need to make sure to get the outline fixed because it can really screw with you later on. So we continue on with the dark blue, and following that, it'll likely be the next shade of blue. From here on it's really just coloring in. After you finish the outline, building the rest of the sprite is very easy, because you can't really screw up once the outline is in place. It's a good starting point. And there you have it. It looks pretty good. I'll show a comparison in a bit, but that's really all there is to it. And there you have it. With the sprite done, it looks pretty good. The colors, I'd say, are definitely the closest ones to what you can match. I stand by my choice to use the lighter blue. I think that was absolutely the best thing I could have done. The skin tone, using the sand, that was definitely the right choice. I think probably the thing that's off about the sprite the most is the dark blue, but honestly, it really isn't that big a difference. Because of how the lighter blue looks, I think the dark blue complements it pretty well in Minecraft, so I think this looks pretty good. I think it's probably been quite a while since I've actually done the Mega Man sprite in Minecraft. I think it was probably before the wool colors got changed, and it looks quite a lot better now. I quite like it. So using all of those steps, going through the sprite, taking a look at the colors, building the outline first, and then, of course, using up all of the steps that I went through during the build, the outline is the one you're going to want to stick to the most. It is the absolute most important part of everything I said. The colors you can kind of do whatever you want. Typically with a lot of sprites, they'll have some sort of gray, and I do like to do the gray next because it will often it'll affect the outline in some way. So typically doing the grays and whites is a good idea. But any colors that you want to do, you can do them in whatever order you see fit. I have a system, I stick to it. You don't have to follow my system. Except for doing the outline. That is crucial. It's very important to building the sprite, because if you're going to screw up anywhere, it's going to be the outline. Once you figure out the outline, once you do that perfectly, from there it's pretty easy. So, that is the end of the video. If you liked it, please press the like button and consider subscribing for more pixel arts as well as other content. And that's going to be all. See you in the next video.